Green status. Okay. We appear to have a better status now. So apologize to all y'all. However you are watching, if you're watching us live, well, I guess if you were watching us live, you're probably not watching us live on that channel anymore. Well, hopefully you'll go back and you'll be able to plug right back in and you'll be able to find us there live. Let's see here. Okay, well, the program isn't running anyway. Anyway, all that once again having been said, I just think we ought to be focusing on facts, right? I really do believe that that is something that is vital, that we're focusing on. What are the facts on the ground in these particular situations? And I think in this particular case, we're talking about a student who I believe, once again, I think we should wait till all the information comes in because I don't believe that suicide should be taken off the table. That the chance that this particular individual may or may not have may have died from suicide. It is a realistic. It's a realistic potential problem or outcome that could easily be a potential realistic potential outcome. Not saying, just saying. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Okay, the trial for the NRA is done, and the verdict is in. And something that was very, very interesting that the jury came out and said, which, by the way, I thought should have always been the case. And I think a lot of people, whether you are pro-gun or anti-gun, whether you're a supporter of the NRA or dislike the NRA, I think that you're going to agree with this statement. And it kind of goes with the whole theme of the buck stops here. It says jury says NRA ex-chief LaPierre liable for mismanaging gun rights group. I'm like, that should end with a period, DUH exclamation point. Duh. Let me read it to you. It says former longtime National Rifle Association chief Wayne LaPierre mismanaged the gun rights group and cost it millions of dollars through wasteful spending to support a lavish lifestyle. A jury found on Friday condemning what he or recommending that he repay $4.3 million. In a civil corruption case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James, the 6-person jury in Manhattan also recommended that former NRA treasurer and financial officer Wilson Phillips repay the group $2 million for his own mismanagement. Another defendant, NRA current secretary and general counsel John Frazier, did not harm the group financially, the jury found. In a 2020 lawsuit, James accused the NRA of letting top executives divert millions of dollars for luxuries, turning the group into Wayne's World as LaPierre enjoyed private jets, expensive trips, and Beverly Hills shopping spree. Now, I get what you're saying. Most people would say, this is a private organization, and while she's quote unquote supposedly, why is she doing this sort of a criminal prosecution against this group? And my point would be that there's a different status when you take on the idea of being a nonprofit organization or a 501c3 or a 501c4. You have a greater degree of accountability because you are not taxed on the revenue that you take in. So you have a greater responsibility because you're supposed to be doing a public good. And what they found in this particular case is, not all of that money was being used to promote a public good. And by the way, this was all stuff that I think a lot of concerns that people had about the NRA, and there's a lot of other issues relating to the NRA. And I really believe the living in luxury status, the living in luxury status and all of that was a symptom of a greater problem, and that was that the National Rifle Association leadership had lost their way in terms of what the focus of their organization was truly to be. And I don't think most people would disagree with me on that. I think most people, even supporters of the organization, would tend to agree that there was a problem with that when it came to the NRA. At least folks that I know who are active within the NRA. and believe that that they've done a decent amount of job, and they're still quite frankly though working to get beyond beyond a lot of that. To make sure that the group is an effective group advocating on behalf of the Second Amendment. And we need them to be, because there are very, very few organizations that are large enough to take on the behemoths that is the Democratic Party, because the Republican Party, you know, at times they are strong and at times they are weak when it comes to these issues. I hate to say it, but it's true. They are. You know, it's important that we defend the Second Amendment because as I did in a recent commentary, the Second Amendment is it's the right that defends all others, and it's important that we protect that because, it's great to be able to speak, but it's the Second Amendment that makes sure that it guarantees that right to speak. Because if you don't get that right to speak, well, then it's time to perhaps if they don't allow you to exercise the First Amendment, it may become time to start exercising that Second Amendment. That's just the truth. That's just, I say it, but the Second Amendment wasn't just about protecting us, about personal protection. It was also about protecting us from a tyrannical government. And anyway, that's just my thing. So, you know, I have friends who serve on the NRA board of directors. I will tell you, it is from what they have told me, it is a tremendous challenge to get the organization back on track, to keep it focused. But in their eyes, it is a worthy endeavor. And so I wish them all the luck in the world. I'm praying for them. I'm praying for the NRA. I want the NRA to be successful because while I love the Firearms Policy Coalition, I love GOA, Gun Owners of America. I love the Second Amendment Foundation, all groups that are doing phenomenal work in defending our rights at the national level. And then you've got groups that are doing great work at the state level, like the California Rifle and Pistol Association and Gun Owners of California and a number of other groups across the country. Those are just the ones that represent me in my state. They're doing phenomenal work. But nobody has been able to have the behemoth power to take on the swamp the way the NRA has been able to in the past, and I'm hoping we'll be able to again in the future. So, I'm hoping they get it together. We shall see. I'll tell you though, if my friends, Mrs. Schofield and Mr. Ector are any indication, I think the NRA Board of Directors is headed in the right direction. Not saying. Just saying. All right, next we have a university professor who, for some reason has said that the Super Bowl win by the Kansas City Chiefs was evidence of white supremacy. I'm not getting this. I am sincerely not getting this, but I'm sure that our friends over at Breitbart will explain it to us. Says here, professor says Chiefs Super Bowl win is white supremacy, and it's slightly racist to be a Taylor Swift fan. An unhinged professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State University, Los Angeles, well, that's all you had to say, Cal State University, Los Angeles, has proclaimed the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl win as an example of white supremacy, and that being a Taylor Swift fan is slightly racist. An ex-post by Professor Melina Abdullah, whose real name is Melina Rachel Raymond, has gone viral, in which she turned the Chiefs' Super Bowl 58 win into a racist conspiracy theory, the New York Post reported. After the championship game ended in Las Vegas, the professor jumped on her X account. Why do I feel like this is some right-wing white supremacist conspiracy? Boo! The win is apparently white supremacy, even though the winning quarterback was biracial. And by the way, kneel for Black Lives Matter, but that's okay. The crank professor leaves no doubt about how she thinks of herself. In her X bio, says she's a professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA, hashtag Black Lives Matter organizer, Pan-Africanist, hip-hop scholar, daughter of God, womanist, truth teller, mama. This Pan-African was actually born in Oakland, California. There's another one. Not anywhere in Africa. Perhaps, unsurprisingly, her father, John Raymond, is a self-proclaimed Trotskyist. Well, there you go. Trotskyist communist and a union thug. Even her grandmother was a member of the Communist Party in Germany. And yes, that means her father is white. Wow. Okay. There is just so much here to unpack. So, in other words, she's biracial herself. And the fact that a black quarterback or a biracial, and I'm sorry, black, you could say you're white, black, white, biracial, whatever. The point is, they got the same makeup pretty much, if you believe what the story says, and yet one's success is an evidence of white supremacy and the other is not. Here's the other interesting thing. So on one team you had, now I know y'all are going to get mad at me because I'm about to do this. In one case you had the best quarterback in the NFL who happened to be black, Patrick Mahomes, biracial, black, whatever you want to call him. On the other team, you had the best running back in the NFL who happened to be white. If anything, this was, how do I want to put this? This Super Bowl went against traditional racial stereotypes as much as any Super Bowl possibly could. I thought it was a good thing. Now, I will say this. I am not a Niners fan, by the way, just so y'all know. I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, so it pains me to say this. But the NFL MVP should have went to Christian McCaffrey. Just saying. The most consistently dominant player in the NFL during the season. I challenge any of you to provide me facts, data, and information to go against it. Because I actually looked into it because people kept talking about Brock Purdy being all this and should have been the MVP. No. He had great players around him. All season, they had a total of all catchable balls, 9. Grand total from everybody around him. 9 were dropped. Trust me, he had great players around him. I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm not saying he isn't good. I'm saying that other players who were really, really good, who had the same completion percentages or better, their receivers didn't drop. By the way, guess what team had the most drop balls? Guess. Can anyone? Bueller. Huh. Kansas City Chiefs. So you had the best quarterback in the NFL, had his team drop the most balls all during the season. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys, they were second worst when it came to dropping balls, but that's for all of y'all Dak haters out there. But anyway, all that having been said, I mean, if anything, this Super Bowl was like, I mean, it showed you, look, are we heading towards a post-racial society? Are we moving towards equity where you have the best quarterback who traditionally, there were people who did not believe that black people could be quarterbacks. Now the best quarterback in the NFL, clearly, a quarterback that can take a team on his shoulders, the guys who drop the most balls in the NFL, can take them on his shoulders and lead them to a Super Bowl championship? Or the best running back in the NFL. I mean, there has not been a running back as dominant in the NFL who is white. Let me think back. John Riggins. John Riggins was the last dominant white running back in the NFL, right? And that was quite a long time ago. But this dude, Christian McCaffrey, talented, Stanford graduate. I mean, he literally carried his team. He was catching the ball, running the ball, was clearly the best running back in the NFL this year. I mean, come on. You cannot tell me that that is a sign, hey, maybe we are heading towards post-racial society. I don't know. But all I'll say is this, is for this professor, and I would love to hear her thinking about why she thinks this is white supremacy. But I think it's just idiocy. But, you know, hey, that's just me. All right, folks. Well, hey, it is about that time, and we're now time for our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, we're gonna get now into our first one here. Now, this is actually for us. You know what? I'm gonna run this one with our story tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to run that one with our story tomorrow. This first one I wanted to share with you, and I don't know if any of you out there are Dr. Phil fans. I don't know. I've never really spent a lot of time watching the daytime shows, so I don't watch a lot of Dr. Phil. But this is an example where Dr. Phil is on The View, and he starts off talking about mental health of children, but he drops a bomb on the folks here on The View, and needless to say, he puts them in their place as he does so.
Social media. So you say you're not the only voice in your kids' ears, so you have to be the best voice. Mm-hmm. Explain that.
Well, think about it. In like 08, 09, smartphones came on, and kids stopped living their lives and started watching people live their lives. And so we saw the biggest spike and the highest levels of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidality since records have ever been kept. And it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years. Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save kids' lives.
Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this, so it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but, well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
That is not an opinion, that is a fact. Because once again, the number of school-age children who died from COVID, now these are once again, had comorbidities, but who died from COVID, it is a very, 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 very small number. I'm not saying none, but it is a very small number. More kids died, more kids were susceptible to suicide, more of them dealt with like what he was talking about, mental health issues, more of them suffered from abuse as a result of, once again, when he's being nice, he said mismanagement. Let's be honest, there was one party that shut everything down and shut everything down for 2 years. There was one party, and it wasn't Republicans. I'm just going to lay it out there for you. It wasn't the Republicans who did it. Right now, we're still looking at learning loss. That is, we're saying learning loss is going to be like a couple of years is the consequences that people are going to have to deal with the learning loss that they've been dealing with from COVID. So once again, that caught them by total surprise. They weren't ready for it, but he dropped that bomb on them, and I'm so glad that he did. All right. Next we have up, here's another one. This one is coming to us from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee. It says, facing lower approval, Biden promises to start pretending to care about the border. Because clearly he doesn't care about the border because, well, he keeps allowing people to come into our country. He keeps encouraging them. His party keeps encouraging them because they keep providing incentives and benefits for people who come here illegally. Let me just be real with you, okay? Let's just break it down real quick. If you are telling someone, I'm going to give you free health care, I'm going to give you a place to live, I'm going to give you a free phone, I'm going to give you money, I'm going to take you wherever you want. You are telling people to come here. You're telling me you're going to provide them all of these incentives, all of these benefits. If they come, then they're going to come. And I get it. You're just trying to help them out, but you're providing incentives for them to come here illegally. Not saying, just saying. All right, and this one, also related to the border. Biden brags he could let migrants shoot someone on 5th Avenue and not lose any votes. Folks, here's my question for you. He has let migrants rape. He's let them kill. He's let them shoot people. He's let them rob people without closing our southern border. Is it going to cost him any votes? I don't know, but I sincerely hope it does. He has been a nightmare. He has been a dumpster fire of a president, and it is definitely time for him to go. Not saying, just saying. All right, folks. Well, that's about time for us to wrap up. But before we go, let's give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today. You got the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. And then you've got Hog Holsters. You'll find them at hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today on a discount. And then you've got uscombatgear.com. They got all things tactical but the gun. And with that, we're going to call it a day. We will be back tomorrow on Taco Tuesday. So if I don't talk to you between now and then, y'all be safe. Y'all have a good time, and we will see you on the flip side. Talk to you later.